My sexist boss dug his own grave by abusing 19-year-old intern. I never expected to take over my boss's job, especially not like this. But when he screamed at a 19-year-old intern and made her cry in front of everyone, he basically handed me the opportunity on a silver platter. This isn't some over-the-top revenge fantasy. Every bit of it actually happened, and I'm finally able to talk about it now that it's all over. It started years ago in a mid-sized factory somewhere in Europe. I won't say the exact country, but it was the kind of place where you either worked with your hands or not at all. I started as an apprentice, working long hours on the production floor. Grinding machines, hot oil, metal shavings. The kind of job that teaches you discipline, but wears you down fast. About a month after I finished my apprenticeship, someone in the office needed time off. The supervisors asked if I could fill in. Cleaner work, better hours, no greasy uniforms. I said yes without hesitation. They trained me on the systems, but honestly, it was easy. I had spent the past year making the parts we were selling, so I already knew how everything fit together. I picked it up fast. When the original person came back from vacation, they told me to stay. Just like that, I joined the sales and quality team. That small decision shaped everything that followed. Over the next 7 years, our department grew from 5 people to 15. We became tight. We supported each other, trained new hires, picked up slack when someone was out sick. I got certified in multiple systems and ended up running most of the training sessions. No titles, no ego, just a team that worked well together. Until one day, everything changed. Our old boss retired, and the person they brought in to replace him turned out to be the worst thing that ever happened to our department. After our old boss retired, we expected someone with experience, someone who understood the work and respected the people behind it. What we got instead was Lucas. He was young, just like me, around 27. But from day one, it was obvious he thought he was better than all of us. He strutted in like he owned the place, cracking jokes that weren't funny, constantly reminding everyone that he was now in charge. And then there was the way he treated women. It didn't take long to see it. The comments, the stares, the little digs in meetings that he passed off as humor. It made everyone uncomfortable, especially the women on the team. Around the same time Lucas started, we got a new hire, a young woman, just 19 years old, fresh out of school. I had the job of training her, and she was doing fine. Like anyone knew, she made a few mistakes, but nothing serious. She asked questions, she took notes, and she was trying hard. That was enough for the rest of us. But it wasn't enough for Lucas. He started picking on her right away. If she asked something twice, he rolled his eyes. If she got nervous and stumbled, he mocked her in front of everyone. The rest of us tried to shield her from it. But Lucas was relentless. Then one morning, everything blew up. I walked into work, and the first thing I heard was Lucas shouting. Not just raising his voice, but full-on screaming. I followed the noise and found him towering over the intern, red-faced and yelling like a man possessed. He was going off about a form she filled out incorrectly. Something so small I had made the same mistake myself during my first year. But he acted like it was the end of the world. And then he said it. He called her a stupid little slut. Said she was so dumb that she didn't belong in the industry. Told her he should fire her and make sure she never found work again. The room went silent. She broke down crying right there at her desk. And Lucas didn't even blink. He just stormed into his office and slammed the door behind him. That was the moment. Everything started unraveling. And I knew there was no way we could let this go. I stood there for a second, stunned. I had never seen anything like that in a workplace before. Not from a manager, not from anyone. The intern was still sobbing, completely shattered. She couldn't even speak. I walked over, handed her a cup of coffee, and quietly asked if she was okay. She nodded through the tears, but I could see the damage had already been done. I led her out of the office and over to someone we called the office grandma. She had been with the company for decades, and everyone loved her. She was kind, patient, and always knew how to comfort someone in need. If anyone could help calm the intern down, it was her. Once I knew the intern was in good hands, I walked back into our shared space and told the rest of the team what had happened. I didn't leave anything out. Every word he said, every detail of the outburst. I laid it all out. At first, there was just silence. People didn't even know how to respond. But then one of the senior team members, who had been with the company for 25 years, stood up and said, "I'm done." Then, another one stood, and then another. Within minutes, 3 of the most experienced people in our department had quit. No warning, no 2 weeks' notice. They walked straight into Lucas's office, handed in their badges, and told him exactly what they thought of him. He called them worthless, overpaid, said they wouldn't be missed, and that was the final straw. Weak sigh. Met later that afternoon, the remaining team members in the break room. No one was yelling or panicking. It was quiet, focused, angry, but calm. We formed a plan. Every single person in our department would quit. Not just in protest, but with a purpose. Except for me. I would stay. For now. Not because I liked Lucas, and definitely not because I respected him. I stayed because of one thing. A massive customer audit was coming in just 3 weeks, and I was the only one certified to handle it. Without me, they would fail. That failure would cost the company between 15 and 20 million euros, in contracts, and no one else, not even Lucas, knew how to prepare for it. The clock was ticking, and we were about to make our move. The next day, everything went quiet. Lucas had no idea what was coming. He was walking around like a king, completely unaware that his entire team was preparing to walk out. Every desk he passed belonged to someone who was counting down the hours until they handed in their resignation. I stayed professional, said nothing, did my job. But inside, I was counting too. 2 days later, it happened. One by one, everyone turned in their resignations. People who had been loyal to the company for years. People with certifications, relationships, experience, all gone in a matter of hours. Lucas lost it. He stormed into the common area, shouting at whoever was left. He pointed fingers, slammed papers down, and demanded answers. Then he looked at me. He asked why everyone was quitting. His voice was trembling, but he tried to cover it up with anger. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told him the truth. Maybe because you're a sexist pig and no one wants to work under someone like you. He stared at me like he couldn't believe. I had the guts to say that out loud. Then he shouted back, calling me an idiot, asking who I thought I was. That's when I smiled. I reminded him about the audit. 3 weeks away. A major contract on the line. And I was the only person in the entire company certified to prepare the documentation. His face changed. The anger dropped away and was replaced by something else. Panic. He asked me what I was getting at. I looked him in the eye and said, I quit too. He opened his mouth like he was going to argue, but I didn't wait. I walked right past him, out of the office, and into the factory floor where the rest of my old team was gathered. I shook hands, gave a few hugs, and said goodbye. The message was clear. We were done. And the ball was now in the company's court. What they did next would decide everything. I didn't get far before someone stopped me. The VP of production, one of the top guys in the company, saw me walking out and immediately knew something was wrong. He called me over and asked what happened. I gave him the short version. Told him the entire department had quit because of Lucas. Told him what Lucas said to the intern. Told him about the audit and what it would cost the company if we failed. He didn't hesitate. Pulled out his phone and called the CEO directly. Robert, the situation just exploded. You need to get down to the production floor, right now. I could hear Robert on the other end asking if it was really that urgent. The VP didn't flinch. If you want to keep the audit contract, you better move. 15 minutes later, the CEO showed up, and he didn't come alone. The entire executive team walked in with him, suits and all, looking confused and worried. The CEO looked at me and asked what was going on, so I told him everything. I didn't hold back. I told him about Lucas's language, how he humiliated a young intern, how he insulted the senior team, and how nearly everyone had quit because of him. I also told him one more thing, that I wasn't stepping foot back in that office until Lucas was gone for good. The room went quiet. The CEO looked around, taking in the faces of the people who had been with the company for years. He saw the anger, the hurt, the complete loss of trust. Then he asked one question. What would it take to fix this? I told him straight. Fire Lucas, and bring in someone who knows what leadership actually means. He looked me in the eye and asked if I'd be willing to take over the department. Said yes. That was the moment everything changed. After the CEO asked me to step in, we all walked together toward the office. The VP, the CEO, the executives, and my old team. It felt like a quiet march toward justice. We turned the corner, and there was Lucas, still sitting behind the desk like nothing had happened. When he saw me coming back, he smirked. Well, decided to come crawling back for your job? He leaned back in his chair, full of arrogance. Then he added something. Disgusting. He used a slur, trying to humiliate me in front of everyone, like he still believed he was untouchable. I didn't even have to answer, because right then the CEO stepped out from behind the corner. Lucas's face froze. The CEO didn't waste a single second. His voice was sharp and loud. Get out of my company. You are fired. And I will make sure that every company in this industry hears exactly what you did. Lucas turned pale, like he had just seen a ghost. He opened his mouth, probably to argue or plead, but the CEO was already dialing the police. You're not an employee here anymore. If you don't leave immediately, you're trespassing. That was the end of it. Lucas gathered his things, silent and shaking. He walked out without another word. Security followed him all the way to the parking lot. We stood there, watching the door slowly close behind him. No one said anything for a moment. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like the end of a long, disgusting chapter that should have never been written in the first place. Then the CEO turned to me and said, "Let's get your office set up." The very next day, I stepped into the office that used to belong to Lucas. Only this time, it felt right. No arrogance, no fear. No one trying to prove they were above anyone else. Just me and the team that stood by each other when it counted. The CEO pulled me aside that morning and told me he wanted to thank me personally, not just for stepping up, but for protecting the company from someone who never should have been hired. He said he knew about the audit, knew the stakes, and appreciated that I had stayed just long enough to make the right moves. Then he handed me the offer, a €70,000 raise, plus a €1 million bonus package tied to the successful completion of the upcoming audit. I didn't even look at the papers. I already knew my answer. I told him I didn't need that kind of money. I was doing fine. But my coworkers, the ones who stood up for the intern, who risked everything by quitting, who walked away from years of service because it was the right thing to do, they deserved more. So I asked if we could split the bonus equally among the team, a shared reward for standing together. He agreed without hesitation. A week later, the audit came. We passed with 0 issues. The client was thrilled. The contract stayed locked in, and the company saved millions. Everyone in the department got their job back, along with a 15% raise. The intern? She stayed too, and she thrived. In fact, she's already being considered for a promotion. There are days I still look around that office and think about how close we came to losing everything. But what sticks with me most is this. We didn't win because of power or position. We won because we stood up for each other when it mattered most. And sometimes, that's all it takes to change everything.
You've heard the case. While you consider your verdict, the court calls the next case to order.
Would I be the asshole if I don't let my dying mother meet the son she stole? I was 15 when I found out I was pregnant. I won't lie, I was terrified. But I wasn't alone. The father of my baby, my boyfriend, stood by me. His parents too weren't thrilled about 2 teenagers about to have a child, but they didn't run. They helped. His uncle owned a small restaurant and I got a job waitressing there. Nights and weekends. My boyfriend worked at his dad's auto parts store. Every dollar we earned, we saved. It wasn't much, but it was ours, and we were determined to make it work, for the baby. My parents, on the other hand, were a different story. The moment I told them, it was like a switch flipped. They were furious. They told me to get rid of it. When I refused, they pushed adoption. When I refused that, they pushed me out entirely, kicked me out of the house like I was trash. I went to live with my boyfriend's family. They treated me with care. They were kind, even when everything felt like it was falling apart. But my parents didn't leave us alone. My dad tried to fight my boyfriend in the street. My mom cornered his mom in a mall and screamed at her in front of strangers. It was relentless. I cut them off completely. I didn't want that anger around me or around my baby. Months passed. Then, out of nowhere, my parents called. They said they'd had a change of heart, that they didn't want to lose me, that they wanted to be there for me and their grandchild. I wanted to believe them. My boyfriend's parents said I should at least hear them out. So I did. And I regret that every single day. I moved back in with my parents a few weeks before my due date. At first, things seemed different. They were calmer, nicer even. My mom would make tea and ask about the baby. My dad kept his distance, which was honestly an improvement. I tried to tell myself that people change, that maybe they'd realized how wrong they'd been. The night I went into labor, I was at their house. My boyfriend and his parents were supposed to be on standby, ready to come to the hospital. But when the contractions started, my parents insisted on taking me themselves. They said they couldn't reach anyone, claimed they'd been calling for hours. I was in too much pain to think straight, and they promised to keep trying. At the hospital, things moved fast. I was exhausted, scared. I kept asking if they'd gotten through to my boyfriend. My mom would just shake her head and say, "Not yet, honey, just focus on breathing." I trusted her. I wanted to believe she was telling the truth. After I gave birth, they brought me some paperwork to sign. My mother said it was hospital forms, standard stuff. I was barely awake, my body aching, my head foggy. I signed where she pointed. I didn't know what I was signing. They were adoption papers. When I realized what had happened, it was already too late. My baby was gone. Just gone. They told me it was for the best, that I was too young, that I'd thank them one day, but all I felt was hollow. They stole him from me, took him right out of my arms and handed him to strangers, and then they acted like I should be grateful. When I left the hospital, I didn't go back to their house. I went straight to my boyfriend and his family. I told them everything. We cried together. None of us had even known I'd given birth until it was already over. They never got a call. My parents never even tried. A few days later, my parents had me taken from my boyfriend's home, forced me back into theirs. I ran away. They dragged me back, again and again. I became a prisoner. They said I was too emotional, too unstable. They acted like I was the one who needed help. Eventually, the only way they let me go was after I tried to end my life. That was what it took for them to finally stop. I didn't speak to them after that. My boyfriend and I stayed together. We got married when I was 22. It wasn't some big romantic event, just a simple courthouse ceremony. Afterward, we had a barbecue in my in-laws' backyard. Their kind of celebration. Easy, warm, real. A year later, we had our second child. That pregnancy was different. The trauma of what had happened the first time was still there, heavy and quiet. My husband didn't leave my side. He was in the delivery room with me. I wanted his mom there too. His dad and siblings waited just outside. Some might have said it was too much. But for us, it was what we needed to feel safe. In total, I gave birth to 4 children. We raised them with love, laughed with them, protected them, but no matter how full our house was, there was always something missing. Every year on the same day, we felt it. My husband would buy a Matchbox car. I'd bake rhubarb sponge pudding. We didn't even know if our son liked either of those things, but we did it anyway. It was our way of remembering, of holding on to something that had been ripped away. 4 years ago, I was out of town with my oldest daughter at a softball camp. It was just a normal day, hot, long, and tiring. Then my phone rang. It was my husband. He didn't say much, just told me to come home immediately. His voice wasn't panicked, but something in his tone made my heart race. I asked if everyone was okay. He said yes, but that I needed to get back. Now. I pulled my daughter out of camp early and started the drive home. My mind ran in circles the whole way, wondering what could have happened. When we got there, I stepped into our house and saw him. Our son. He was standing in our living room, tall and nervous, fidgeting with his hands. My husband was beside him, looking like he was trying not to fall apart. I froze. Every part of me wanted to run to him, but my legs wouldn't move. I just stood there, staring, barely breathing. My daughter looked between us, confused at first, then quiet. It's hard to explain what it felt like. Joy, grief, relief, guilt, all crashing down in a single, overwhelming wave. He had come looking for us. He said he'd always wondered, that his parents, his adoptive parents, had told him about us, that one day, if he ever felt ready, they would help him find us. And they did. We didn't talk much that day. We didn't need to. Just being in the same room again felt like enough. After 20 years of silence, we finally had our son back. From that day on, he became a part of our lives again. It didn't happen overnight, but it happened naturally. We started with video calls, short ones at first, mostly just to say hi and get used to each other. Then they got longer. We'd talk about his day, his job, the games he liked. My younger son started gaming with him online. My daughter, well, she found new and creative ways to be annoyed by him, which only made him try harder to get under her skin. They adored him, all three of them. He told us about the couple who raised him. They had adopted him as a baby, an older couple who couldn't have kids of their own. He was their only child, and from everything he shared, they gave him a good life. He never once made it sound like he lacked anything. They were loving, present, supportive. They passed away a few years ago, just days apart. He said it nearly broke him. But not long before that, when he told them he wanted to try finding us, they gave him their full support. His adoptive father had even found us, quietly years ago, and had kept the information safe, waiting until the time was right. He spent his first Christmas with us that same year he came back. We cleared the whole month for him. It was chaos, and it was perfect. And on his birthday, we flew to him. We still do. Turns out I was wrong about the rhubarb. He hates it. Doesn't like cake either. So now I bake him a peach sponge pudding. He says it's his favorite, even if it's not. I think he just likes that I make it for him. And every year on the week his parents passed, we visit him. We sit with him. We remember them too. I never got to meet them, never got to thank them, but I'm grateful to them every single day. A few weeks ago, my father reached out. Not to me, he wouldn't dare, but to my in-laws. He said my mother was dying, that they both had regrets, that they wanted to make peace before it was too late. I didn't respond. I didn't even need to think about it. Every part of me recoiled at the idea. The thought of facing them again, of pretending there was something to mend, was unbearable. They took my child. They tore my life apart. And now, decades later, they wanted a moment of grace. Some neat little ending to ease their own guilt. They could choke on it for all I cared. But not everyone saw it the same way. My husband, who had never once spoken kindly of them since the day they betrayed us, surprised me. He said maybe we should go. Not for them, but for us. He wanted them to see. To witness what they tried to destroy and failed. Our family, our children, the life we built without them. He wanted to walk in with all of us, including the son they stole, and let them sit in the weight of everything they missed. I didn't say anything. I just looked at him, wondering how he could be so calm, so calculated. But I understood. He didn't want healing. He wanted them to leave this world with a fresh wound, one they couldn't deny or forget. I told him I wasn't sure I could do it, that I didn't know if I could sit in that room and keep myself together. He said I didn't have to say a word. I've spent days thinking about it, replaying every moment. The way they lied, the way they isolated me, the way they smiled while stealing my child, telling me it was for my own good. And now they want closure. I think about our son, about the life he had, the love he was given, the stability we never could have offered at 16. My father-in-law said it plainly once, you wouldn't have had the life you have now if he'd stayed. And I know he's right, at least partly. We would have tried. We would have worked ourselves into the ground, but maybe it wouldn't have been enough. Maybe we would have crumbled. Maybe we wouldn't have made it. But I also know what we lost. Years, moments, first steps, first words, school plays, birthday candles, all of it gone, all of it taken. And even though he's back in our lives, even though we're closer than I ever thought possible, I still feel the scar of what was stolen. People close to me have different opinions. Some say I should let it go, meet with them, take the high road. Others say I owe them nothing, that they made their choice and now they can live with it. I'm tired of carrying their shame on my shoulders. I didn't do this. I didn't betray anyone. I was just a kid who trusted the wrong people. Now they want to look me in the eye and feel better before it's all over, but I'm not sure I want to give them that peace. So I'm here, asking honestly, would I be the asshole if I don't give my parents a chance before my mother dies?
The case has been heard. The stories have been told. Now it's your turn to judge. Leave your verdict in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. The Court of Stories is always in session.